Welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly. Hope you've had a wonderful week. I'm just trying to set up the live stream so that we can get started. There might be some noises in the background because my computer has been on for a very long time, so it's now beginning to switch off its additional fans. So if you're hearing noises in the background, it's the additional fans and my standing fan is in. Whether in my thought is a bit hotter than usual, maybe because of too much computer has been on for a long while. So bear with me. So let's get started. Believe I'm sharing my screen.
Too many Solana, Solana Dilana.
It's got too much fun. Very funny, guys. Anyways, if you just hear this, I just say it's my computer that is making that noise. I can't afford to switch it off right now. There's too many activities going on at the same time. So unfortunately, I couldn't even restart it. I would normally restart it before I start live stream, but I just have to go with it, and that doesn't go in the middle. Yes, welcome everybody. It's a bit unprepared for today because I was not in a call. I didn't even finish some of my slides, but you have to bear with me. But let's get started. Important, vital information I think to talk about today. Of things shunning. So let's start. Today we'll start as usual, go through the agenda. I'll talk about what the market is like. I'll have to go to the site directly because I couldn't get so many of the data that I usually have put on my slide. So I'll have to go to the site directly to make. I will talk about Bitcoin, I'll talk about alt, and then talk about what we're expecting to see in the coming weeks, because we're getting to that very critical part of the bull run where I don't want to say make or break, where people need to start cashing out, as the case might be. So on the fundamental level, I will still see that Bitcoin struggled a lot with the 50K level. It looks like we flipped it for now, but there's a cautious note of warning around that level, because if we flip 50K successfully now and we go ahead to approach maybe let's say 52 or 55, there will be strong selling pressure that might push us back below 50. Not not as far as, maybe not as far as 43K, but maybe 45. Or if that happens, it means that we've had the sort of correction needed to push further higher for all-time high. So it's still very, very cautious, and especially because there is very little volatility going on in the retail and on-chain area of the market, and I'll explain that shortly. On-chain, usually you have people buying and selling, moving coins between different wallets at times of bull activity like this. But right now it's not as intense as it usually is. The same thing with the exchanges. So you have transactions going on, right? But in terms of actual spot transactions, the transaction volumes are lesser, then the volatility is lesser. What this means, purely from a retail point of view in the spot market, means that there is an impending breakout. So when you have a volatility squeeze, that's what I would like to call it. It means that the price is ranging. It's almost like the price is in a channel. In traditional markets like Forex or stock market, you say, when you have a channel, it means that eventually you're going to some sort of convergence or divergence. And you're going to have a breakout. So that's what it suggests that we might have it. We might have a fake out. Actually, I think we might have two fake outs. I mean, having studied this market for a couple of years now, I think that I have a fake out place before the real breakouts. That's my personal opinion. So we might have a breakout to 55, then all the bulls go crazy. Then we'll have it or a smackdown to 45, just to make sure that both sides of the device are wiped with the floor. On the other hand, in the derivatives or the futures markets, funding rates are high. So somebody was asking me about funding rates and what funding rates mean. So funding rates just usually show where the bulk of the money or where the bulk of the positions are in the margin market. So in the derivatives or margin market or futures market, as we call it, this is where people do leverage trading. So you borrow, you have $10, you borrow $10, take a position. If you win, if you win 100% for $10, make $20 out of $10 that was not your own. You lose, might lose your own $10. So in this market, there is a very high normal profit and of course normal losses. So there's a lot of traders that trade in the futures markets. Funding rate usually stipulates where the bulk of the positions are. So if the funding rate is positive, just to summarize, it means long positions are way more than short positions. If the funding rate is negative, in short positions are way more than long positions. And if the funding rate is positive, you will be paying, if you're in long position, for over 12 hours. On some exchanges, it's 8 hours. So if you get in a long position, let's say Bitcoin now, and you wanted to hold it for 3 days, there is a fractional cost. In Forex, you call it swap, that they will charge you for holding that position for more than a period. In the margin market, they call it the funding rate charges. So they collect it, I think, finance every 12 hours or every 8 hours, depending on what the pair is. So when the funding rates are high, like they are right now, it means that there are too many leveraged long positions. What it then means is that the exchange is now getting gradually at risk, because if everybody is long and everybody borrowed money from the exchange is going to run. It's going to have liquidity crisis. So what usually the exchanges do is they move in big money with their market makers and go the opposite direction. They wipe out everybody in long positions and take their money. It's wickedness, yes, I know, but that's the way the market is. So right now, funding rates are very high. They're positive. So if you hold a short position on any penny pair now against USD, you are likely going to be paid as of paying the charges, because almost all pairs have positive funding rate. I will look for one of these. I'll talk about it maybe in another funding rate. But what it suggests is that there's an imminent correction, which I'm going to talk about. In terms of regulation, we know that El Salvador is launching next week. Personally, I saw a news that about because the people in El Salvador don't want like exactly what is coming to them. But I understand, because from what I saw, the opposition candidate to the incumbent, is using it as a campaign agenda against. So they've been leading protests saying, they want to use it to funnel money abroad. They want to use it more money laundering, all sorts. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's beside the point. All countries have corruption problem, including the chief of countries like US, China, and the likes. Everybody has corruption problems of various degrees. But I think they have more to gain actually doing this than they will realize. But knowing the guy, and I think the guy has a lot of military belts, so I think he'll be able to. I'm interested in seeing how the macro plays out for them. On the other hand, our people in our country are creating CBDC, and they went to partner with a Barbados company. I mean, it's a shame, because the average Nigerian software engineer or IT consultant or IT experts and stand shoulder to shoulder with any I mean, and I mean any other pair in their realm without any, I mean, without thinking, probably will outperform most of them actually, because we're naturally aggressive and with our careers. Most people are, they're in the top echelon of their career. So I'm surprised that they couldn't get any Nigerian or group of Nigerians from all the people in, the blockchain space to build a wallet. And, it's, I don't want to talk about shame. I don't know who's going to buy into e-Naira when the real Naira itself is toilet paper. I don't want to go into that. I'm sorry. I'll just start ranting. Anyways, talking about Binance, Binance has gotten another regulatory smackdown. As they are just trying to get out from the UK one, they got another one from, I think, South Africa this time. They got one from Germany, one from Japan about 4 weeks ago. What this tells me is that there is a, what's it called? There's politics going on, when you're the apex in any, when you're the apex or the alpha in any group, you're the prime target for everybody or for anybody that's seeking dominance. So I'm not surprised that Binance being with all sorts of allegations, and this one they said South Africa issues a warning that people should be wary of Binance. Binance is the most capitalized exchange in the world. If there's anything, it's the other ones that they should be wary of. Yeah, that's understandable. And I've had people ask, that is Binance at risk, their money at risk. I'm like, yeah, well, if paranoid about your money, you can move to a decentralized wallet. But just know that Binance is still the most liquid of all exchanges in the world right now. It's still the most liquid by wide margin to even Coinbase that went public. So, and because of the way, and I keep saying it, because of the organizational structure, the way they structure their legal entity within the Binance Global Organization, they're going to go very far. The only competitor I see for Binance right now is FTX, and that's because FTX in the US they're like a proper schoolboy exchange startup, and they're going through all the regulatory rigor with US government. That's the only company. Yeah, and because FTX, they don't have the reach right now that Binance has, and because Binance is in clusters, they have legal entities in each of their countries. It helps them to navigate all these political and legal issues that are being hauled at them. Huobi is also all right, but Huobi is not capitalized. I mean, you know Huobi because you've been in crypto for a while. If I did a poll now, but let's while we're at it, where is that? Question number one. Where is that? Where is it? We'll see now how many people know. Second. I'm just sending a poll round. Just yes and no to show you actually the reach that people are. I mean that yes, yes. So I've sent everyone on the Zoom call a poll asking if you know Huobi Global. And you see, I mean, you'll see. I'll show you the results when everybody has filled in their polls. I can tell you for sure that most people don't. What's this thing? It's showing me something else. I'm sorry. Oh, come on. Sorry. Sorry about that. I think I gave you the wrong. I gave you the wrong. Yeah, sorry, I gave you the wrong.
Hello, Nana.
Sorry, I gave you the wrong. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So yeah, in terms of sentiment, as I was earlier talking about, um, the volatility squeeze is on, and even though we have bullish sentiments in play, I'm a bit skeptical that we're going to go all the way bullish. Bearing in mind, as I said on the WhatsApp group, bearing in mind that September is a traditionally bad month for Bitcoin in terms of performance. So I expect to see some headwinds in that regard. Um, definitely in the next few days. Definitely in the next few days. Everything is pointing to an overheated price action, if I may put it that way. So I don't know for how long the correction is going to be. It's probably going to be a week or a few days, but there will be correction. And I suspect that the correction will be after there's an initial surge. So these days I've learned to think like market makers. If I'm going to want to make the best ways, push the market up and let the price go. When the price goes forward, I suck in the bulls, then slash it down and push the price down, and I suck in the bears as well, then wipe out both of them by doing the opposite direction. That's what you would do if you're a market maker. I mean, it's like playing chess. That's what market maker would do. Because then if the price suddenly goes to 55, everybody wants to get in. Then if I push it back again to 45, the bears will be like, yes, we were right. This was a dead cow bounce. We're still in the bear market. And then you take the opposite again and push it back up. That way you wipe both sides, exactly, essentially, and the pigs get slaughtered, as they say. Yeah. So um, first in the news is this news about Ethereum. Very interesting. It was just last week that bug in the Ethereum network that was caused by some old terminals that were not upgraded and were causing what you could term as a near double spend scenario. So, for the benefit of people who are not familiar with blockchain speak, double spend is when um, two streams of transactions are generated on the network, and it now appears like they they are replicating in normal day language. You say they are duplicating data, or you are duplicating data or duplicating an entry. So normally you shouldn't have a double spend if all the nodes are on the same level. But the nodes are not the same, meaning the computers, if they're not on the same level, like we had last week, one of the old computers or servers that were being used to validate for Ethereum did not upgrade to Ethereum. So because of that, it created a bug that was almost going to split the network. But they found a way to fix it. And of course, people didn't know about it, especially except the people who are, the developers and people who are mining Ethereum essentially. But it's been fixed, and because of that, you see Ethereum touch 4,000 today for the first time in 3 months, which confirmed our last week position that altcoin season might be around the corner as Bitcoin dominance is still going down. Anyway, so watch out for correction on Ethereum. I think it's probably going to go to like maybe 4,000 to 4,005, which was where it was for crash in April, before we see some serious correction in terms of Ethereum. For Cardano, for Cardano holder, congratulations, Cardano is doing well. It's also topped out at $3 in recent time. It's still correct right now. Cardano is usually very funny in its movement. Sometimes it can just stay for weeks or days and not move, and all of a sudden it just shoots up. But Cardano is strong contention now for Ethereum space, and same with Solana. I was going to add Solana to this list, but I didn't have enough time because the issue of what do you call it now? Network spend, transaction cost, is still a major concern for most people that are trying to get into smart contracts. So Cardano's Alonzo network is launching this September. If the network launches and they are breached, so what all of them are doing, they are creating a bridge to Ethereum that can allow you migrate your stuff from Ethereum to Cardano. If those developers' codes are working on Cardano the same way they are working on Ethereum, then Cardano is going to see a surge, at least an initial surge, and that's because Cardano is almost like an academically developed blockchain. Each development is peer-reviewed, like a proper academic paper, and the level of scrutiny that they give to their roadmap is very, very high. As a result, they're usually not there, they're not hyped. They don't hype themselves. They don't, they're not huge in marketing, but they've been very, very, as I always say, they've been very, very conscientious. That's the word, with their development. So if Cardano's upgrades with the smart contracts work well, and people find out that their smart contracts are working at a cheaper transactional cost, Ethereum is at risk. Of course, Solana already put Ethereum at risk. I've talked about Solana, and I think for this month, I'm only going to talk about Solana ecosystem coins, because I think that even the institutions are beginning to see what I started talking about way back in May. Solana already raised the money for their development, so they don't have to hustle, as we say. They don't have to hustle for money from their tokenomics. And as a result, they're going to be able to attract other projects on their ecosystem. So they're going to keep going up. My initial projection, at least for this bull run, is anywhere between $200 and $500 Cardano. Solana. But we'll see how that goes. So if you have your Solana, hold it tight. Then with Cardano, definitely. But Cardano is already heavily capitalized. SEC announced its probe to Uniswap. If you remember last week, I carried this news last week saying that SEC signs a deal with blockchain analytic company. Apparently, part of what they wanted to inquire was to find out what Uniswap was doing. They paid a lot of money to those guys. And they've now announced that they want to investigate Uniswap. I mentioned this thing before, that when regulators make this kind of announcements, it's almost like a first pass chess move to make you take a step. So, for instance, if somebody stole a child in the United States, which is a very good example, because they have very extensive police force. If somebody kidnapped a child, they will roll out all the available police force in that area, and then they'll put it on all the available news. What are they trying to do? They're trying to put the offender under pressure to make the person make an unforced error, as they say, so that they can catch the person. So when SEC comes and saying, we're investigating you, even if they're not doing anything, you will begin to make moves to make sure that your tracks are clean and you are not any problem. In the process of making those moves, where the problem comes, then they will now be tracking what you are doing after they made that announcement. So I think this is one of those silly cases where, like somebody said, like somebody called them, what do you call them? Omonile in suits. Omonile is just a term for touts in Nigeria. People will try to collect ground rents for building or making any. So on the back of that, I was making some analysis on the price of Uniswap earlier in the day, and I was thinking, after drawing out the chart, I was thinking to myself, 29 or 28.9 might be a good entry to buy Uniswap. Apparently, I did the analysis, and I said, okay, I'm going to put a limit on that, 29 to buy some Uniswap. In my mind, I thought that, I was going to do the limit order. I didn't realize that I'd actually, carried on to, affect that order on my trading platform. It was later in the afternoon. I just, saw that, a one very nasty candle. I can show you I'll look for the candle now. Very nasty 1 hour candle on the price of Uniswap. And I was like, hey, that's a bit unusual. What happened? It was then I noticed that it was the SEC filing. So SEC just came out. This is the candle I'm talking about. So in 1 hour, It dropped from 30.88 to 29, yeah, 29.4. I was like, what happened? Like, is there a problem with the exchange or something? But it was just on the back of that news that, SEC announced that they're going to, they've not done anything wrong. SEC has not said it, but then announced that they're going to, meaning they're looking for, just like when you get caught by a policeman in like Nigeria, there's nothing wrong. Your papers and registration, but the guy just keeps looking around. After a while, he's going to tell you that your fender is bent or your brake light's not working, or you're in possession of hard drugs. So it's just one of those things that I think what is happening here is that an institutional buyer wants to buy. You might call it a conspiracy theory, but I know that it happened. It happens behind bars or in the dark. An institutional buyer wants to get it, so wants a price, and as a result, probably just makes it fake complaints like SEC. And SEC is they're looking for who to charge and that to them with liberty. So SEC to take the bait and say, well, we're going after these guys. And before you realize it, the price is dropped. But I think that's just one of the politics of the game in terms of, I don't think they'll see anything wrong in, except they're going to make retroactive laws to affect people like Uniswap, because what Uniswap has done was already in existence by people like Compound. The only thing different that Uniswap did, Uniswap were the ones that made institutions aware that anything like that was even going on. DeFi. Before Uniswap came, you had Compound, you had even people like what's the name? Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet has a DEX before Uniswap, where you could, exchange your funds directly from your wallet. Or Uniswap sort of institutionalized the DeFi technology, and of course they added liquidity provision, they added farming and all that stuff. And it's now become funky off the Uniswap templates. So in fact, the US law that is causing all the brouhaha about what's it called? Infrastructure bill that they're trying to tax crypto for. It's all about DeFi. They're looking for opportunities to see if they can tax people involved in DeFi. Good luck with that. In terms of Spotlight, as I said earlier, I'm only focusing on Solana ecosystem coins. I mentioned Serum last week. I wanted to mention Radium this week. So Radium is a Solana ecosystem. I also have, apart from Solana itself, which is the motherboard or the mothership, Serum is their DeFi platform. I think it's important that even if not for this particular bull run, keep them in mind against the next bull run. As I said, they already have the money to actualize their desires and aspirations. So they're not hampered in any way. So moving on to vital signs. So usually at this point, I will be telling you about crypto market cap. So as I was saying, out of people that participated, we had a 60-40 on the Huobi Global. 40% of people don't know who or what Huobi Global is. Huobi Global is an exchange, Chinese exchange. I don't use them because I've got my fingers burnt Chinese exchanges in times past. So I'm really very wary of Huobi Global. They're also very good. I guess they have a lot of pairs. Same with Oxbridge, seem to be it's not as capitalized when it's the thing. Yeah. I like Kukum. They have a lot of nice gem values. So in terms of market cap, vital signs, we are 2 points last week, but roughly so we've made 500 million in 1 week, and dominance has dropped because those are the things that tell us whether we're in alt season or we're out of alt season. Yeah, my computer is now beginning to act up. You don't have a check. Let me use this. Anyways, I'll come back to that. Computer decided to show itself for complaining for overworking. Anyways, the Bitcoin, yeah, Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance has dropped to 41. Yeah. Last week I was saying that it wasn't making enough progress. So this was last week. This was last week. I was saying it wasn't making enough progress, and I was saying that was when I drew this arrow. That we have a potential 21% downside from last week's Bitcoin dominance percentage, and that I suspect that will keep going down to probably close to 40 or 36. And the reason being that the only time we've been close to this level was April and January 2018. So the level we're approaching now, the level we were at just before mid-May. So if we break down, I mean, this looks like a total breakdown right now, unless anything changes in the coming week. We're probably going to have another further breakdown, or we'll have a test. Right. So what it means for people who are new to Bitcoin dominance is a fraction or is an expression of the amount of money that's sitting in Bitcoin as a fraction of the whole crypto market's overall market capitalization. So out of the $2.2 million sitting in the market, what this is saying is that 41% of it is what's in Bitcoin. Usually when Bitcoin is draining in other seasons, you have as much as 70% in some cases. Then in those areas, that is sitting around 6 for the most part. That's usually the average. But when it starts to drop, it's a very good indication that altcoins are going to start to move. And as you can see, people like Solana, AXS, and many other coins have been going literally crazy in the last 6 weeks. So as long as this trend continues downwards, the bear, what's it called? The altcoin season is still on. In terms of sentiment, I think that we're still bullish, or because we're bullish, we're now at risk. Where's this site now? We're now at a risk of a reversal, and I will explain that shortly. When the price goes up, like it's like gravity. Anything that goes up usually comes down. So what you have here, 74, is a 2% increase on last week's percentage greed or fair index. I have always said it, I never go wrong on fair and greed index. Ever. You can never go wrong. If you're a swing trader and you buy when the greed is low, when there is fair in the market, and sell where there's always make always. I mean, if that's the only thing you watch out for, you always make money in the market. So we've gone as low as 20 in the last 6 weeks. We've gone as low as 22, 21 at one point. So yeah, we're at grid now. We really touched the extreme grid slightly during the past week. Right now we're at grid where we're sort of evening now because people are beginning to fidget and say, okay, this Bitcoin is not going as fast as we think it was going to go in terms of pumping back to all-time high. But I think it's literally because of the Bitcoin dominance I shared with you earlier on. In terms of the price of Bitcoin itself, let's start. So in terms of the price of Bitcoin itself, I think it's done the most. Yeah, I think it's done the most it's going to do for the day. I think tomorrow we'll probably have a further maybe 52. But I expect that we have a pullback. Don't have a pullback. So if you have a gap, a very good enticement or inducement for a pullback is if you have a CME gap. I've talked about CME gap here before. You have a CME gap that's post lower than the market open on Monday, then we're going to have an immediate pullback. And because everybody's expecting it, everybody will sell off. So in that case, my estimation is push up to let's say 52, then we're going to come at least come back to 49 in the first instance, and then probably 47 plus in the second instance. The lower limits, as I said, 45. So the reason I have some of those lines on my chart, they're key levels, either based on historical supply and demand or Fibonacci levels. There are key levels in the price action that tells us, whether the price is going to bounce off or the price is going to go straight to price level. So from what's before me right now, the market's range in the next 1 week looks like 545. Again, if I were a market maker, I would try to push the markets close to 55 before bringing it down. That way, I will suck in more people on the longs, then wipe them out and wait out. But that's the way it's looking right now. From my perspective, really, wow. I think that is that's 2% down. So on the very long time frame, which is the weekly, yeah, 100K is imminent. I mean, it's inevitable rather. 100K is inevitable. It's not like the market's going to go straight up in 100K. But given what we know, and I mean, based on these charts, it's imminent that the price is going to eventually touch 100K. I don't know how many weeks it's going to take the price to get there, but it's going to get there. And it might get there very fast, but it's definitely going to get there. So if I had 1 to 5, 6 weeks of gains, at 1 week of correction, another week, I don't think we're going to have another 2 weeks. If you have another 2 weeks, what it then means is that, yes, if you have another 2 weeks, we'll probably have it at 758 for a correction. That correction might take us, but if it happens before then, it means the correction might take us back to 5. But it's still all good because something as usual. For Ethereum, because it's now become the other, I mean, not onerous, that's not the word. Some imperative for look at Ethereum now. Ethereum is now that's the queen of the for crypto. So Ethereum have touched 4,000. This is completely overbought conditions, overheated. Anybody that gets in here is going to go back for another one because it's top of the market. It's the highest we've been in 3 months, very close to our all-time high of 1,000. Right? And yes, on the weekly we are top limits of the standard deviation for price as well. So it looks to me like the correction is imminent. Whichever way, the correction is imminent. I don't know when, but it's either early next week or late next week. We should have some fairly decent correction for the price of not only Bitcoin but Ethereum. Now, it doesn't mean that, and that's why I was saying that depending on how you want to, when I give off, you might want to buy now. You might want to, you might buy now and sell when the market is trying to and enter the market. Depends on how comfortable you are with the price action. But what I'm saying is, when the market becomes heated, you only have very little room to go further upwards. This is Ethereum Bollinger Band. It shows that we're at the upper limit. Usually, when you touch the upper limit, probably have 1 or 2 bars of candles more before there's evidence of correction or traction. In a freak condition, we can actually have a situation where the price doesn't stop like it did here, but he only did it for 3 weeks, and then the end of the third week it went all the way um really crashed badly. So I don't think we're at that low of top yet, where Ethereum is going to like 10K or 5. I don't think we're there yet. So in terms of other tasks like Cardano, as I said, Cardano he has a life of his own. Let me just say that Cardano is looking like rate. Because where it is now shows some time. I mean, basically looking at the price action charts, it shows some tiredness in the price action and some indecisions expecting. So I think is that it stays in range, yeah, around 2.9 to 8 or down a bit more to maybe like 2.7 or more. Because this 7 level definitely the critical the amount of the last 1 to 5, the last 10 days in that region. I think the market is going to get some support or either around 70. I'll be looking by until comes back to them soon. Or I mean, the lowest probably 5 times thereabout. So that's in terms of what's happening on the markets. In terms of where we are in the market cycle, I think we're getting to believe everybody's now getting comfortable with the fact that okay, maybe it's not bear market as we earlier proposed. Maybe we are still in bull market. Once we cross into the 60s region, of course, we are very, very quickly going to get to 3. And of course, once we cross 65, then everybody's going to go crazy. It's important to note that nobody is able to adequately predict the peak of the market, but it's important to be prepared to take profit. And the reason I say this is because many of you guys either joined this call or have been on the WhatsApp group. I've just only been in this market, which means just like the third half, or well, no, not I would say the quarter. You witness the third and the fourth quarter, or witnessing the of the so it's very easy to get carried away because I promise you will see some crazy price actions in the months to come. Definitely. It's inevitable. Definitely you will see some very, very crazy price action. I mean, it will look like money is falling out of the skies. That's what I can just say. And there's a very high propensity to be carried away. But you need to understand that you came to the market to sell. Let me use that word. So don't get carried away by the noise and the excitement in the market that you don't sell your wares. And I usually give that example. Tell that to sell banana and granite, and then go to the market and the clown or the magician now starts using his wares to attract, and he gets carried away by the crowd and forgets to sell. At the end of the day, if he doesn't sell, he doesn't make money. So the morale of my African folklore is that be prepared to take profits. Now, if you've attended any of the classes on portfolio management or managing profits in the bull run, you've heard me say you need to determine what kind of part of the sector you belong to in the markets, whether you're an investor, a trader, or a speculator, and that would help you to decide what your roadmap. The general perception is that you need 2 bull runs to make it with crypto, and I think I quite agree in principle, because the first one you still probably don't know what's up. You just rely on information you've had and don't have the first-hand experience. But after the first one, going to a bear market, then second one, you sort of get a hang of it and understand what's going on. But nevertheless, you're on this day, you are still early. Actually, you are still one of the early adopters of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology and digital assets. I tell you, you are still very, very early. You still have less than 200 million people in the world that are invested in crypto. So still very early. We have over 7 billion people. So we are still very early, still in the early days. in 4 or 5 years time, we'll probably be talking about Bitcoin at 500,000 plus. And like, oh, I remember 2020 when Bitcoin was 10. I remember 2020 for 2021 when it was but you're still early. So it's important to keep that perspective and then determine, in which areas you want to take profits, areas you want to just watch the markets. Let me use that word because everything you see now, oh, there's another chart I usually like to show. Where is that chart? Everything you see now, it's some people call it a bubble, but it's a cycle. It's like a wave. It goes up and it comes down. It goes up and it comes down. And if you're not conscious of that fact, and you just carry the way that you look at your portfolio and it's just swelling every day, just swelling every day, you might get carried away and because looking at your portfolio and seeing 4 or 5 digits is like anything opioid or heroin. It does something to you. You just start feeling cool. It's like looking at your bank accounts. Yeah, but I mean, but I'm making that yeah, not even think, when you look at your portfolio and looking for some of you on this call now, you're probably millions time and you get carried away. But to understand this, and the reason I brought up this chart is because the overall market cap on a graph, and you can see the progression. So I've taken the position lowest lowest out of this was the recent high. If we go by this projection, it means that we can very easily double the market cap of crypto. If you double the market cap of crypto, there are various ramifications. I mean, a lot of ramifications. Now, it doesn't mean that the market cap of crypto doubling means the price is or triple the price of depending on market action. If we double the price, but I think definitely I'm almost invariably we're going to double the market cap of around yes 4 trillion. Sorry, gets to 4 trillion. Prices are going to go crazy, like really very crazy. And you know they say you never know who you really are until you have a lot of money. So be careful. I don't know why I'm saying it. Somebody probably needs to hear it. Careful when quote and unquote prophecy becomes reality and you had a 10,000 and you're feeling yourself all over again. Remember to take profits. Even if you don't count on the profit, take some and take out your initial capital and just to hold it in fiat or stable coins and wait. If it goes further up, all well and good. You can decide not to sell and watch it till it goes to the peak and comes down to drop. As you can see from what I just showed you, it went all the way to 2.5, then it came down. So imagine I didn't take profit, and I'm saying this, I didn't take profit when it started coming. I'm like, okay, I know the bull run is not over, but I didn't think that it was a 2013 kind of correction or worse that we're going to have, which is less than half. If you took profit there at some point, even if it wasn't if you took some profits off the table, in retrospect, you will probably have some more enter the market. So what I'm saying is, and you need to be prepared. Don't say I didn't tell you. So that's okay. The only thing I wanted to talk about today in terms of taking, I'm going to run another course in about 2 to 3. And the reason is that when the bull run is over, you will not be able to make as much money on just buying and holding. What will then happen is market makers and even traders and institutional traders be looking for every opportunity market. They're going to be selling off at every opportunity at the price. And because everybody sort of knows that there's usually a bear market period for the next half, So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And because of that, there are some human behavior. You expect some kind of behaviors, which means we might see actions on many other points. And I mean, there will be actions on many other points, but not on Bitcoin during that period. And if it's not on Bitcoin, it means it has to be that coin. And then, because Bitcoin is like the index currency of the whole crypto market, it sort of affects how the market progresses during that period. So staking is a passive cash savings opportunity within the crypto ecosystem. With I mean, with APY as they call it, so annual percentage yield from 0.01, 100% or 200%, depending on which platform. But I'm going to take time to. I'm taking it past early 2020. So I think I'm going to reverse because there's more context now. A couple of things have changed in the environment, the operating environment around passive income with cryptocurrencies. So I'm going to take the class again, definitely for the month end. And we're really going to staking and staking opportunities because we will need opportunities to the bear market, definitely. You will start in terms of you will need taking opportunities in the bear market. And you will also need the ones to watch out for because there are also platforms that are like what the what they say they call kalu kalu in my language. I don't have an English word for it, but it's like going to a slot machine that only collects money, never pays out. That's the only English equivalent of that word that I've ever come up. So imagine you go to a slot and everybody plays the slot, like nobody wins, but it's always collecting from everybody. So there are platforms like that that one needs to be wary of in terms of where to keep your coins. So I will talk about that definitely in one of the classes in the coming week. So I think that's be done for today. If you do have a question on Instagram, you can type in your question. If you have a question on Zoom, feel free to unmute your mic and I'll take the question. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Demi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you as always for the deep insight on what's happening around space. We do appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. I think for me, just a quick one on what's your take on Binance, Coins itself, and Rally.
Okay. So I think I've taken. I think it's either in one of the classes. I think it's one of the classes when I was explaining the use cases and the broad classification of token. And what I did is break it down. Like, so here you have categories. So by an NFT because they are major ones. Usually, so this classification is just specific to CoinMarketCap. They are the ones that are which is fine because it sort of breaks down the assets to the various classifications that there are in terms of what trying to. However, it's too granular. Let me use that word. This classification is not high level granular. I mean, you have first, yeah, over 120 classifications. But so basically, to put it very straightforward, a very straight broad classification that you have. One, you have tokens that are what I can call primary coins, payments systems. peer-to-peer payment system. One of which is Bitcoin. Every other thing that's around payment, XRP, Cash, Litecoin, all of them are all trying to the architecture and the underlying philosophy of Bitcoin. You have that one. That's one category. The second category are what I call exchange token. And I call them a separate category because, or we can call them utility tokens, but then that will make them spread across. Exchange token is a type of it, meaning it has a lot of use. But exchange tokens are peculiar because they are the native tokens of the cryptocurrency exchange that they're being used on. Good example is Binance that you mentioned. Another example is Crypto.com coin. Another example is Qcoin. Another example is FTT on the FTX. Another example is what's the name of this one? I think there's one that is Wobbycoin for Wobby Global. There's another one for Bittrex. Is it Bittrex? No, Bitrue. So each of those exchanges, so many of those exchanges have their own, and the reason they have their own coins, of course, it raises a lot of liquidity for them. And in tokens will have helped them to raise some funds. In addition to that, somebody is jamming this call. I can't make it. Okay. The exchange token provides utility. So, for instance, the amount of an exchange token you have determines the amount of freebies or VIP. Yeah, let me use that word, VIP benefits. So it's just like here, you have a Tesco card, which is like a shopping card that you swipe anytime you buy from Tesco store, or like a Costco card for guys in North America. Swipe your Costco card, you give pounds, then you get your purchase history and all that. But because you hold that card, have some items will go on sale for those who are card holders that will not be on sale other people. So exchange tokens provide this kind of benefits for holders who use the exchange. And if you use Crypto.com, for instance, you understand that if you stake a certain amount of Crypto.com on Crypto.com, it gives you some advantages that ordinary people who don't have any stake. So you're almost like a shareholder of something. Same thing with Binance. If you have Binance stake up to, I can't remember the volume now, but it's a lot of volume. Even, I mean, you need to be like 50, or can't remember, 50,000 or something crazy. You will get a percentage of your trading fees by default. If you use Binance Coin as your trading fee currency, you automatically get a discount on Binance. I don't know if many people know about that. I stopped using Binance Coin as trading fee currency because Binance started appreciating, and I'm like, this thing is too expensive to be using for, trading fee. So I stopped using it for trading. For exchange tokens are another example. I can go on not to talk about DeFi tokens and all this stuff. I'll just stop on exchange because you asked a question specifically on Binance. Because Binance is an exchange token, it is a very high utility token just by the fact of it being an exchange token. On the back of that, about a year ago, Binance created what we call the Binance Chain. Now, the Binance Chain is Binance owns blockchain. Before the Binance Chain, Binance used to be an ERC token belonged on the Ethereum network. But by creating a Binance Chain, essentially Binance became a direct competitor to Ethereum in that regard. So Binance has its own blockchain now, through which you can carry out Binance transactions, the Binance coin. In addition to that, Binance bought or has stakes in many DeFi platforms. So Binance bought Trust Wallet, which is a decentralized platform. Then they introduced DeFi swapping, Trust Wallet. They have stake in SafePal. They have stake in I think big pancake swap and all that. So because of that, Binance has become not just an exchange utility token, but like a multi-utility token of some sort. The reason I'm going to explain all of this because you need to be informed in taking your position. As much as Solana has a lot of upside right now, it's eventually going to catch up like Binance. But I think that we're going to see at least a similar performance to Ethereum in 2017. What Binance is going to before this bull run ends. What you ask me? What do you mean? Ethereum went from I think like it was like 100 or something or $50 to over 1,000 the last bull run. So I think we're going to see something like that with Binance because not only has it made itself an exchange utility token, they've also created a blockchain and a decentralized finance platform around the same token. So it's a matter of time. It's just a matter of, I don't think many people see that, but at the back of my mind, Binance Coin is one of those coins that I'll be very actively stacking once the bull run is over and then all the prices have crashed. Because I know that for sure, it's going to be around for a very long time, at least 10 years at the very minimum. So if you got Binance, they give Binance for free at the beginning. Give people maybe like 100 Binance tokens. That would be now. Binance coin is how much is that BNB? That'll be like 400 or something. 490, almost $500. So imagine $500. So times 100, that's 50K. Got it for free 3 years ago. We're still very early, and it's important to keep these things in mind when when you're making decisions about the coins. Yes, price is going to go up, price is going to come, but on the long run, price is going to go up. With that at the back of my mind, like I said, personally, we're stacking, definitely be stacking Binance on once we get into the depth of the bear market. What do I mean depth of the bear market? Imagine Binance coin was 14 cents and 17 was free at some point. 14 cents. Only started to take off. Only started to take off, like seriously take off from it was like 10, 9, or 2019 was the 9 and so you only started to pick up at the beginning of this year. So if you take peak to trough, so we've seen this drop now from 700 or 600 and 740 or 750 down to 294. I think the next step, like anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 at the peak of the market. So give or take, Binance Coin is still one of the strongest in the game, and that's why they have a lot of it's still one of the strongest in the game. Forget what's the noise about Ethereum. Ethereum is solid, of course. It has the most developed. Might say Binance is a bit centralized, but the utility is strong and the use case is quite quick. So that's my thoughts. I know it's a very detailed analysis, but I needed to explain the basis of my reasoning for Binance. I don't have too much of it. I always have that back of my mind that if I'm switching to major alts, Binance is one of those major alts I'm switching to definitely because it's a very, very strong coin and has so much. Oh, well, I didn't even talk about the burning. There's something called burning, which is essentially incinerating or destroying some units of a particular coin as a way to increase value and reduce speculating supply. So there's a quarterly burn schedule that Binance does that basically takes out some Binance coin from circulation every quarter. People say it's a scam. I don't know. That's what's being reported. But it happens every quarter, and every quarter that it happens, you see some price movement on Binance. The same way Ethereum has now upgraded to EIP Exactly. Like Ethereum has upgraded to EIP 19, which allows them to burn tokens for each transaction that we do. So yeah, that's my impression of finance. Any other question?
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Ding. What about Rally?
Sorry, Rally.
Yes. Rally, yes.
What's the spelling?
RALLY.
RALLY. Always coming with some strange coins for me. So, well, I don't know about Rally. I'm just seeing it for time. Just the years. And um, yeah. Well, judging by where we are now, I said, just want to see the timeline. So we're 32% of all time. And if you buy this coin now, at some point in this bull run, you're going to at least make 50% at the minimum. Or at the maximum, because many of these coins are going to react based on the price of Ethereum. So I can see here that's an Ethereum token. Any token that's pegged to Ethereum or is an Ethereum derivative, meaning it's likely to gain in price as Ethereum gains in price, just by value of association. Same way, most of the most of the coins gain in price against US dollar when Bitcoin is pumping, just by virtue of that. I don't know what Rally does, so I am not able to give an opinion. I can see that it's on Coinbase, Huobi. Well, if it's on Coinbase, I think it's yeah, might be a good one. It allows decentralized creators to monetize them. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Let you know what you think. But frankly speaking, any, and I'm saying this across board, except for shit coins like meme coins, which is 50-50. Any cryptocurrency that you buy now, give you some gains, and it's going to guarantee you're going to reach. I don't know when. I don't know, whether it's next week. We are going to get to 100K. We're going to surpass 100K. When that happens, all coins. So whatever the coins are, just know that most of them are still not back to their all-time high that they were before. Just like this one is 30% off now. It's going to come back to all-time high. If they're looking for coins that are good for 100%, meaning between where they are now and their previous all-time high, at least 50%. I would say, I would say consider the that is quite expensive. It's quite expensive. I have a list of them actually that I just sort of kept. Yeah, so for instance, this is a very good example. This is 75%. What this means from where we are now, up and buy now, up, so those are the kinds of, those are the kinds of because the keeper now has usage on its own, and it's been around since and it's supposed to provide security for it. So it has strong use case, very low supply, if I remember very well. Overall, yeah, max supply is 1.5 million. So definitely, further going back to all time, almost, and it's currently, what am I saying? It's currently 200. That's 300%. So that's an example of yeah, that's true. I just remembered. Thank you, Lukman, for pointing that out. But that's an example of the coins that definitely entry. Know that, as they say in Yoruba, that means without any, I mean, whatever the case might be, you're going to hit 400% at some point during this remaining part of this bull run. So that goes for most of the altcoins because almost all coins fell from their all-time high by wide margins. So this, I suppose, will go to, if you're looking for a free tip, I'll just give you a free tip to double your money. I don't know what is it. I can guarantee you that that coin is going to see 800 again, probably 1,000, the minimum. I think it's let's see.
Thank you, Dr. Ting.
Doctor, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
You know, some of these YouTubers and some of the guys on Telegram on these things, they say looking at institutional investors who are entering into crypto now, this kind of 4-year, this bull cycle might change. Maybe going forward, we may not see this every 4-year bull cycle again, and the markets will can just go up at any time within the year. What's your take on that?
Two schools of thought.
That's my first question. Then maybe when you finish, I'll come in with the second one. Very, very short.
Yeah. So this is a critical issue in the crypto community, and the reason for that is because there's an history, and I gave apologies to the ladies, but I gave an example during one of our classes to say that, you know, a woman's reproductive cycle is centered around ovulation, and that determines the timing of everything. It determines how long the menstruation is going to be. That means when the menstruation is going to come. That means when the woman is going to get pregnant. So many other things are determined by that. In the same way, the cycle of the ecosystem has been determined so far by Bitcoin halving. And Bitcoin halving is just an algorithm that has been programmed into the Bitcoin ecosystem to make sure that there is deflation and that the currency inflates itself in producing newer coins. And it's worked perfectly so far. Block per block, once you get to the designated number of blocks, it drops the rate of issuance, which essentially reduced the supply by half. Now, because of that, market makers hitherto work with that cycle in the accumulation and distribution. So if you're interested in further studies, you can Google Wyckoff distribution, which talks about how market makers operate, generally speaking, to accumulate and distribute any assets. Wyckoff's typing it in the chat. So there's a playbook for that. That's a trader figured out way back in the, I think, 70s or 60s. And it perfectly explains how the whales behave. And in fact, there was some time that the price of Bitcoin was behaving exactly like that earlier in the year. And the reason they do that is because they have that at the back of their mind that Bitcoin is going to halve that years and that. And as a result, the prices are going to halve it. And then the Bitcoin is going to peak like 9 to 12 months after that halve, which is what we're experiencing now. Institutional investors are coming in now, big money, and already we are seeing a divergence in interest as well. So there are two schools of thoughts as well. So that the schools of thought of storage of value and hedge against inflation. Those are institutional interests primarily interested in Bitcoin because it provides an hedge. They've seen the track record over the last 10 years that it's beating the hurdle rates in terms of the inflation the government imposes by printing money, and is able to at least retain some value for their equity. Because of that, you have people like MicroStrategy who have gone out to, take their company against Bitcoin as it were. So their balance sheet is essentially sitting on Bitcoin. And the thesis for them, which makes sense to me, if my company scales today, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll put my balance sheet on Bitcoin. Thesis is that because the government has to keep printing money, not the question of whether they have to keep printing money every year at the rate of 10 to 15%. There is no other way to store your value or keep your money from depreciating other than keeping it in stores of value. Traditionally people use gold, but people have found out now that, Bitcoin is more thermodynamically efficient than gold by far. Probably to a factor of 1,000. So because of that, there is that school of thought of institutional behavior that believe that Bitcoin is the way. Then there is another school of thought, or I call them institutional speculators, or we can call them traders, that believe that it's people or it's tokens like Ethereum and smart contracts and DeFi platforms that will really lead to the explosion in the space. And those ones are allocated their resources accordingly. What that does is that you have two positions. So what I think is going to happen is Bitcoin is still going to go through its normal boom and bust cycles, with the price increasing and never coming down. Because at least for the next, I'll say 12 years, I have my reasons. I say 12 years, but at least for the next 12 years, I think that will continue. But Ethereum, on the other hand, and Ethereum-like coins like Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, BNB, that have this, facilities to aggregate on their network, their platforms, I think they will see a massive influx of funds. The massive influx of funds will not dampen the reduction in the price or the stagnancy of the price of Bitcoin. So I believe that, yes, you might not have the stark bear market of 2 years now or 24 months that we have like before. We will have bear markets, definitely a deep, sharp one, at least for 6 months, at the minimum, at least for 6 months in the first instance. We might have a recovery of another 6 months, then another 6 months of slump. But during this period, altcoins, specific altcoins, start to gain in price against Bitcoin. It will almost be as if they're not subject to the whims and caprices of the markets and the Bitcoin price. But those coins will go through and grow through the Bitcoin bear market. And they'll be very, big winners for investors by the time the bull market comes around. So yes, we might not see the 24-month bear market, but we will have bear market. As you've clearly seen, despite all the institutional funds that we had around this, we went 3 good months of wicked price action to the downside. So yes, knowing what the market makers likely do, we'll have that bear market. Might not be as long, but definitely my opinion is we will have the bear market. And in fact, we might have multiple cycles of bear markets actually in this bear market. So we might have a slam dunk months where price looks like it's flattening out. It might be after Bitcoin has already at 50K, and everyone like down by 80%. I've forgotten that it went up that high. So we will have the bear market. It might not be as but also that many will achieve stardom and unicorn status. That's my submission. I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Then again, too, people say you can't tell, maybe you can't accurately predict all-time high of a coin or this. So based on what are people able to say, oh, this coin can do $500 within this time this year, $200 and all those things. Based on what? Maybe, if
So,
I may know.
there are various metrics that people use in calculating what a coin can do. One is basic valuation, that they do valuation for companies and stocks. You look at their balance sheets, you look at what the retained earnings is, you look at what their P&Ls are, you look at what the sales figures are saying in terms of gross income. And based on that, you can say, okay, this company's balance sheet is really $500,000. They have made $3 million in sales. We project that their retained earning is going to be $1 million. So they're going to go from $500,000 to $1.5 million. If this trend continues over the next 3 years, it means that they will probably be at $5 million in 5 years' time. So the person who wants to buy the stock market will say, okay, this is the earning per share based on all these metrics we've said. And then they make a decision that if we buy now and we sell in 5 years, we will make 5x, 3x of our money. In crypto world, it's simple. Like I have it for you on the screen. You have the max supply, in some cases, or total supply. Then you have circulating supply. When you look at your total supply and circulating supply, you can tell how much of that coin is in circulation. In the case of this coin, you already have 41% in circulation. What this means is that almost half of this particular coin sits in circulation, which means you are less, it's still possible, but you're less likely to have a flood of the market with this coin that will crash the price suddenly. And then people will now look at what you call fully diluted market. So as this text explains, the fully diluted market cap, the maximum supply is what the price would be. All the 100% of the total supply was in circulation. What this does is that it gives you an idea of where this would turn out. If everything was in circulation right now, still 120, and it's still 41% in circulation. So people calculate what the current market cap is, the diluted market cap, and you project based on what coin is tried. So if we go, Link is a very good example. Because Link has a particular market, Oracle market. Projection originally $1,000, and that was based on the fact that Link was the first mover in this space, for the first major move. And then the calculation was the market cap, not that circulating, right? And then the market cap, right? So market cap is current supply times price times max supply. So based on this figures, is usually what market this Link. It's about I think 2.5 billion. Sometime I read that. But they look at the target market and the value of that market. Okay, take a slice of that market. It's just like when you are doing what's this thing now? There's business planning, and you're doing your business planning. My business. This is my target market. This is how much percentage I think able to out that target market. So it's essentially the same thing that's being done here, especially for people who belong to specific areas. You take a look at the target market and you say this is what the target market is valued at. So take a slice of it, let's say 1% or 10%, and say what we're going to have in 10 years, 5 years, then this is the future valuation of the total market cap. So you now use that to drive back the price. So because we already have current market cap and fully diluted market cap, if you get the future valuation, you can pound the future valuation into the formula and derive what the price will be as that future valuation. That's basically how it's done. I hope I answered it.
Yes. Thank you very much. Understand very well.
All right, guys. There are no other questions. Happy to call it today. Have a lovely weekend. And yeah, okay, I was going to say something. For people that have teller, please check whether your teller is in profit. I'm selling on my teller, not because it's not. Oh, I have that. So full disclosure, I've sold on my teller. So if you have teller and your teller is in, buying other coins at this point. That's all for me today.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc.
All right, cheers.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
All right.